Hey, welcome everyone.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Rockhound Talk Live. I'm your host, Amber Nicole, and this is
Ben Corn.
welcome. So tonight we have an exciting guest. We have Ellie, Ellie Ringo with us, and really excited to chat with her and to get to know more about her work and her journey in the world of rocks and minerals. So before we bring her on, we Ben and I just going to do a little bit of chatting, just some Rockhound talk. Ben, tell us a little bit about where you're at right now.
Yeah, you might notice my background is not my typical background. I am actually in New Jersey right now for work. So I got this to work out just right, where I'm actually out here for 2 weeks, and my weekend off, I'm going to be doing my first mill site dig at the Franklin Mineral Museum. Also doing my first night dig for fluorescent minerals. So I'm very excited to be in New Jersey for this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super jelly. I wish I was there. I need to come out there soon.
Yeah.
A lot of people know that I just got back from traveling to Vegas, my kids and I, and we stopped at quite a few states on our way there and coming back, and had a lot of fun hunting. And you and I were talking about some challenges when you're out hunting in different areas that you aren't aware of, property lines and what's public and what's private. And Ben and I both use the OnX app to help us find those areas where we can, legally hunt rocks. So, how has that been working out for you?
Yeah, I had the Onyx Hunt app for a while. I used it for Minnesota for some of the things, and then I was using actually I would jump between emails to get the free trial version, so I could do like Montana when I was planning trips out to Montana, and then I finally just broke down and I just bought the whole U.S. for Onyx Hunt, and it's been great because now I can plan trips. Like for now, I'm in New Jersey, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to try to find carnelian agates for one day. And so, like, people mentioned Carnelian Creek, and I've looked it up, and it's like it's surrounded by private land.
Yeah.
And so, being able to have an app like that where I can just go through and just look up, property boundaries, public lands, all of that, it's really great. We're not sponsored by Onyx app or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no, no. It's just a
It's
really great tool to have. And
yeah.
and I have it and I used it as well out in Nebraska and had a lot of challenges on a river that crosses like the complete state, and there's very minimal public access. Um, I reached out to some homeowners and I didn't get, any kind of a return call. So obviously I wasn't able to hit those areas up like I wanted to, but it's a nice app to have just because like when you look on Google Maps and you do, you're kind of surveying that way. I mean, it doesn't you're not going to know when you if that place is something that you can access until you get there and you see the sign that says no trespassing. So it's nice to know before you go.
Right.
So it is definitely a nice app to have. So you are going to be, and you said Jersey for a couple of weeks. And is it this Saturday you said you're going to do the night hunt?
Yeah. The Franklin Mineral Museum, they've got they it's their mill site dig that they do once a year. So I've been coming out to New Jersey for work for the last, I don't know, like 5 years, and or actually longer than that. And I've never been out here in April, and so I'm so excited to finally be out here for an April where I can go to this exclusive, area that they only let people do once a year. And then it just so happens they're also doing then a swap and sale. So they're having, I don't know if it's like 30 or 60 vendors that are selling to,
Nice.
and then they've got a night dig. I've never done a night dig, so this is going to be exciting, and I'll be able to get some tips because I'm actually going to be leading. The Minnesota Mineral Club is actually doing a trip out here in just under 2 months, so we're going to be doing a night dig as well. So
That's
I'm,
exciting.
yeah, I'm. It's going to be really nice too because I don't know how many people have done fluorescent mineral hunting, but I like to bring a grill cover to look under so I can block the
Oh,
sun and check my
that's
rocks.
nice.
Yeah, it's nice until you do it and it's like 85 degrees and sunny, and it gets really hot really fast. So it's going to be really nice to be able to do that at night, where I don't need a grill cover or anything to block out the sun. I can just, have my light out and walk around, and the rocks everywhere are just going to glow. It's really great. I'm really excited for that. Um, so yeah. And then I guess another thing too that we should mention before we get started too. One of the new things that we've got too for this season is we are going to be putting all of the episodes audio on to different podcast
Yes.
platforms. So
Yes.
the last one that we had, the season finale of season 1, is already uploaded. So if you want to go and search, you can find it there. And then once we get these episodes edited down and uploaded, those will be posted there too. So you can find Rock On Talk Live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Samsung. There's a whole bunch. Pretty much anywhere that you can find a podcast, you'll be able to find us as well. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to watch the YouTube video, or you want something to listen to while you're driving to wherever to maybe collect some rocks, you can listen to this too.
Yeah, especially like when we start getting into, like even tonight, I'm sure we'll talk with Elley, about places that, in Arizona. So as you're, heading to these different locations to hunt, just keep us in mind. Some of the information that we have on here might be useful for you as you're prospecting and hunting different areas. Most of my when I went out west, I've really posted most of my experience. So I feel like kind of silly, just kind of regurgitating things that I posted. But if you aren't someone that follows my posts, I did some hunting in Utah, looking for some pigeon blood agates. I did some hunting in the near the Death Valley area, not in Death Valley, but near that area, the Mojave Desert, for some Mojave agates. And just, I tried in Nebraska, wasn't successful because I wasn't able to get access. The water was really high, but there was agates out on the Platte River there, so I wasn't able to do that. But all in all, and I did get some Wonderstone, which is some rhyolite
Oh yeah.
sandstone that are supposed to polish really, really well. So I do have like tons of those. So it was fun. It was a brief experience because I was with my kids. So that like had to like rush and get rocks kind of thing. So it was fun. It was fast. Definitely looking forward to some more adult rock hunting trips. So I don't have to be rushed.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I was really jealous some of the scenery, because it reminds me a lot of like some of the the parts of Montana, like southern Montana, like in the Prior Mountains. And I was like
yes,
looking at it, and
it's
I
so
think we
gorgeous.
still probably had snow on the ground in Minnesota, and I'm just like, oh, like I want to get out into the
Oh
mountains.
my
And even just like not
gosh.
even looking for
This is
rocks,
like
it's
the
like,
craziest time. So cold and snowy still.
I know. I actually, Minnesota's been crazy. And I went out to look for Lake Superior agates in a field on Thursday last week, and it was
Yes.
85 degrees, and I got sunburn. And then I went out again on Saturday because it was raining, which I've mentioned on here. That's my favorite time to go. And it was like 45 degrees and raining
Yeah.
on Saturday. And then when I flew out on Sunday, it was in the 30s and snowing again. So it's just been ridiculous.
It's
And I'm just like, oh my
crazy.
gosh,
Yeah.
like summer needs to get here so I can get
Yes.
out and finally do some more trips and find
Yeah.
some rocks,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
I'm doing, I guess, on Saturday. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I saw some comments. Looks like we got people
Hey,
Wisconsin,
Dennis.
Michigan.
Yeah, Derek. Wanda, welcome. David, thank you for joining us. Oh yes, with the Wisconsin weather. I mean, everybody kind of like in that Great Lakes area up north. It's been, but even Colorado, Oregon, like northern states for sure, been getting it really bad.
Yeah, it's just been a crazy spring so far. I think everyone's just been ready for
Yes.
summer to get here in the warmer temps, and Yeah. Okay. Looks like we got Houston, New Hampshire. Wow, we're really covering everyone today. This
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I know we've mentioned it before. It's posted right here. But our guest tonight is Elley Ringo. Those of you who follow her on social media will know her as Elley Knows Rocks. She is a geologic consultant. She's an actress, a model, so many different things. So welcome, Elley, to
Yes.
Rock on Talk Live.
Hey, Ellie.
Hi guys, how are you?
Doing great.
I also have a snack with me, so I am.
Yes, snack. I have my snack. This is my snack.
Oh no, I have one of those snacks too.
So,
Now I feel
Ellie.
left out. I should have hit up the liquor store.
Shame.
So, Ellie, I have been so excited to have you on. So, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us.
Oh, you bet.
So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit just about the beginning of your story and to rocks and minerals and how it's led you to where you are today?
Well, as as a kid, I guess I should, feel like fully introduce myself. Hi, I'm Elley Ringo. I started Elley Knows Rocks a couple years ago with the help of Summer Helene. She's like, hey, you should try something and show people your love of geology. And I was like, I don't think anybody's really going to want to see what that is. And she's all, no, we put you through a little group and there were reviews and people absolutely loved it. And I said, are you sure? She's all, yeah. She's all, but they think that you're too pretty to be a geologist. I'm like, that's great. But get to that later.
Yes.
As a kid at like 7, 8 years old, I used to beg my dad to take me down to the beach. And the whole reason for that is because I really, really wanted to look for agates. And like as a kid, I didn't know what they were. I had no idea like what I was getting myself into. I just knew that there was some people from the church that we went to that said, yeah, we go look for rocks on the beach. And my mom's thinking, rocks? Really? This is boring. And my dad's like, oh, we'll give it a shot. And so I go out there and I instantly catch on. I mean, little kids kind of absorb things like a sponge. So the woman showed me what it looked like and I was like, I'm on it. And so I just ran around everywhere. I'd come back with every rock. Not everyone was an agate until I really figured it out. But man, my pants would just be full. Like my backpack, my jacket, giving them to my dad. And I was the kid that would like dump all that stuff out in the car. And then a week later, they'd go, what is all of this? And I'm like, yeah, that's mine. I'd try to take it back to my room and like hoard it and not let anybody know it was there. But, I fell in love with it. And I had no idea that it was going to lead anywhere. You don't have that notion as a kid. And I didn't really have like anybody that said, oh yeah, you can go be a geologist, go for it. We didn't even know what that was. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until, years and years later, I was working at a job that I hated. I absolutely hated it. Like the person that I worked for used to vacuum herself out of her home every day. And she had white carpet. And her son used to come in and bitch about the fact that his mom had white everything and you couldn't touch the floor. And like, we'd hear these stories like every week. I'm like, I hate working here. Mm-hmm. But I also, due to like bad relationships and stuff like that, people always told me I was never smart enough to go to school. You can't handle it. You can't make it. Don't even try. I mean, even my older sister said it. When I told her I was going to college, she's like, yay, but are you sure it's right for you? And I'm like, why does everybody think I can't do something? I don't understand. So I didn't know what to do. So I decided to go opal hunting in the Virgin Valley, Nevada at the Royal Peacock Opal Mine, just like on a whim. I was like, you can find precious opals there. Let's go figure it out, right? Again, I didn't know what they were. And this was like my adulthood of like getting into geology, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So I go up there. It's raining. It's nasty. Like there was just a little bit of sunlight, but I was covered in mud from head to toe. But I was loving every minute of it. Mm-hmm. Like I was, I still have the fire opals that I found. And so, you
found some.
Oh yeah, they're the pretty ones, the ones that they like make jewelry out of, the really beautiful, precious fire opals with the play of color.
Mm.
Oh, that's great. I actually went there a couple years ago. I found opal, but it wasn't the fire, so
Oh.
I am a little jealous. But I could definitely see how that would turn someone on
Yeah.
to all of this.
Oh yeah. I went back to the job that I was at, and I was telling some of my friends, they're like, "Mm-hmm, yeah, this is cool. It's time for lunch, right?" And so nobody was interested. So I went to the community college, and I was like, "Hey, I think I want to be a geologist." And granted, I had no idea what the word was. Like, I went back home and I was like, how to look for rocks for a living. And literally, and it was like, oh, you could be a geologist. And I was like, cool. What's that? So I had to Google what a geologist was. And like,
All right.
I was looking up all this stuff and no clue that it was going to be that amazing. So yeah, I got myself enrolled in school and, finished my degree. I was at the top of my class. I just
That's
loved
awesome.
every minute of it. And so
That's awesome. That's
that
awesome.
that's how I got started being a geologist.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So then you graduated, and then you started taking over, or not taking over, but started working in some of the mines here, assessing correct me the right word for that, when you're trying to determine where minerals are in the field.
Yeah, so I started out as what they call a pit geo,
Okay.
working for like one of the biggest mining conglomerates in Arizona. Y'all can look this up. It's really easy to figure out which one they are. First name begins with an F, second names begin with an M. You guys can go from there. And so, yeah, I started out as like, looking at like core and trying to determine like mineral sequences and where would the best place be to drill, where we were going to come up with the highest grade material. And you have to put all of this into like a big 3D model and like present it once a week. And no one really cared. And so it was just one of those things. You'd go out in the field and look for all of these things, and you got to rock hound while you were out there. So I mean, I had my eyes glued to the ground, and you'd get all truck drivers driving by like, what is wrong with these idiots? They're always staring at the ground. Like, because I had a meeting with them once, and I said, what's your biggest question? And they're like, why are you always looking at the ground? I was like, well, don't you look for rocks? They're like, why would we look for rocks? We work in a mine. And then I kind of showed them, because this is what we have, and they're beautiful and amazing. And
yeah.
So, and it was a blast. And I absolutely loved the first people that I started working with. They were amazing. They were just a really tight knit group of people. And then I was voluntold to move because the mine I was at was curtailing. So I moved, and I ended up working for the worst people in the world. Oh, wow. And people that would bully me and berate me and just massive amounts of harassment. And I was like, why am I here? I would go home and I would have panic attacks like every day. And, my fiance, who was my boyfriend at the time, was like, you can't keep doing this to yourself. I was like, well, I'm not doing it to myself. And he's like, well, you know what I mean? Right. And I said, I have to go to work. I have to do all of these things. And, and, a couple years ago, when I was put under assessment to say, hey, tell people about your rocks. And I was like, yeah, that's a backup plan. But and then like everything hit with the pandemic and whatnot. And so I started getting more and more into it. And I was like, this is my primary plan. I was like, forget a backup plan. And, they say about backup plans, like if you have one, you're never going to like fulfill anything. You're never going to make your dreams come to fruition. And so I got the opportunity at that point to go do a TV show to look for gold in Greenland. And I called my boss and was like, hey, so can I have like a leave of absence for 3 months? And he's like, I'll get back to you. So a couple days later, he's like, yeah, we don't really grant that for people. And I'm thinking, that's a lie, but okay. And because they've done it for other people. So I knew I was on the blacklist anyways, because I would speak up for myself and stand up for myself.
From like the harassment and just the treatment you were receiving.
And but like there are certain like geologic things that you go do at a mine, and you have to tell other people like about them or the things that you're presenting. And so I would always present a strong case, especially around things that had to do with safety. If somebody was violating like a safety incident, or somebody was going to get themselves hurt, especially geologically speaking, there's a lot of stuff that happens in a mine that people never hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is like, we have a lot of slope failures. So meaning the angle of the wall falls off and can bury a lot of things. People think of Bingham Canyon when they think of slope failures. That was a massive catastrophe. But they listened to the people that were actually looking at the wall, so they were able to get people out safely. They lost a lot of equipment, but no one died. And so where I was working, anytime you would present a strong case, if you were a female, people were like, yeah, whatever, cool. And you're just like, all right, so why is he get away with it? And no offense to all the dudes out there that don't have a problem with women, but the ones that do, man, I've got it out for you. That it's just not cool. It's like,
no, it's not.
I am doing what I can.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that I kind of was going to ask you about some of that because, I mean, I've gone to school as a geologist. I've gone through the program. I've actually seen that firsthand where I've had a professor tell someone that she wasn't going to make it as a geologist because she was a woman.
Yep.
So it's something that I've seen, but obviously I've never been able to experience it firsthand. And I know there's definitely been a lot going on now with trying to bring more women into STEM and having more opportunities. So I guess I know things are, changing. Have you been able to see, a lot of that sort of coming up and a lot more support then for women in STEM?
I would say at the college level, yes. Like, I only had like 2 professors that were like, "Oh, you're a woman. You can't be a geologist. If you wear a tight shirt and you have boobs, you should probably leave." And you're like, "Really?" But for the most part, the college systems really, really, really are strong about women in STEM. There's even like the International Mining Games. And that's intercollegiate. So they have men's teams and women's teams. And so like that was always promoting women, in the mining industry to go out and be physical with it. But in
the real world,
you still are looked at as less than. And even so much so that like there's a big difference between like mining engineers that get hired and geologists that get hired as far as their pay grade. You can both come in as the exact same, a 1, and the mining engineer is going to get paid this much and you're still down here. Now, if you're a woman that's a geologist against a male geologist, the male is still up here. And you're like, really? Like, we're literally doing the exact same job, but it doesn't matter. It all just depends on where that comes from or stems from the top. And usually a lot of these heads in these mining companies, they're all men. The company I worked for, every one of them was a man. It was only till they started kind of getting in trouble after I left that they sent a woman from their corporate office to go talk to people. And the stories that she was hearing, I heard from a friend of mine I have a lot of friends that still work there, said she was in tears by the stories that she was being told by both her male and female counterparts that would come in and talk about the level of harassment that people were getting from every level, men and women. But it takes a huge change in order to, or not necessarily a change, but either people leaving or something drastic happening for there to be change.
For that mindset to change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they say the strong survive. Well, the thing is like, yeah, the strong survive because they're smart enough to like get up and move out, because you don't stay in that toxic environment. You die every day you die a little bit. And so it sucks.
Yeah. So, you had sent us some photos.
Yeah.
And I did have a question. I'll bring it up right here. So you sent a photo of you. It looks like some kind of maybe a convention or something, and you've got a table and you're talking to a little girl. I guess what's the story behind this?
Okay, so I'm glad you got the correlation between the photos, because some of them I didn't exactly put titles on. But so yeah, that is a convention. I have done different like booth events and whatnot. And when I do, I'll sell my minerals that I find, or I also sell my mineral kits and I show people how to use them. So that little girl right there is figuring out that if you scratch the minerals or you streak them on a streak plate, that they all have different colors. And so I was showing these little kids how you can, draw almost with some of the different types of minerals. There are some of them that are soft enough you can actually scratch them on paper. But the other ones were just scratching all over these tiles and having a blast and trying to draw stuff. And so that's what she was doing. And then I was also teaching them how to plate copper on a nail with just a steel nail and chrysocolla and muriatic acid that's been diluted. And they were having a blast. Like they were creating their own pennies all day long. And I mean, it was adorable. And so
That's cool.
with the Elley Knows Rocks platform, I have a lot of little kids that follow me that want to know how they can do stuff. And so with my mineral kits, I tried to look for one that was like online and something that was already pre-made. No, it doesn't exist. Like either they want a fortune for like these stupid little pieces of plastic, little magnifying glass and all these things that are going to break really easy. And I was like, I'll just make my own. And so it was kind of a pain finding all the material to do that was a little bit stressful, but honestly, it's one of my most successful things that I sell on my Etsy is my mineral kits.
I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
I loved it, and
that's great. Yeah, so is that the kit then? The photo on the right there of the kit that you get?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
really
I mean, you don't get the rocks with it; you just get all the stuff. But I mean, you got to make the picture look decent.
yeah, totally adding that. Like, it's such a like, especially for kids. Like, what a cool even stocking stuffer. Like, I mean, that's just like a super cool idea. I love that.
Yeah, for kids that want to like get outside and whatnot.
Yeah.
I've had adults go and get them, and they're like, "This is perfect because it's small, it's compact.
Yes,
you put it in your field bag. It doesn't weigh a ton." And you can do all of your physical tests in the field to determine what you have, because a lot of people don't have that knowledge to just go, oh, this is the mineral or rock I have. That doesn't come very common. So this helps.
Yeah.
Totally. No, that's great. I've tried to do, talks, with like Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and like those kinds of things are really great. One of my favorite things to do is when I would teach and talking about hardness is I would love to take like a piece of fluorite.
Oh yeah.
And talk about hardness and be like, so if I take this and scratch a window and I will just, jab it on the window, and because fluorite's softer than glass, they all freak out like I'm gonna like scratch the glass. So that's one of my favorite things to do. I like doing the little kind of magic trick with rocks with kids.
Yeah,
so I guess kind of talking about kids too. So you did talk. So was it Oregon then that you grew up when you were looking for agates?
Yeah, I was on the beaches in Oregon.
Okay, do you still have like your first agate or anything like that you found?
I have actually the first bottle of part of my collection. Do you want me to grab it? It's on my dresser.
Yeah, grab it.
Yeah, we love show and tell.
Yes.
I'm gonna grab the half amounts of them because I decided to, of course, color coordinate them. Because why not?
Yeah, why not?
So if you can see, like dark light and whatnot.
There you go. Oh, so cool.
So I don't know if it'll like focus on them, but
I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're different, different colors from a dark to white to, whatnot. But I absolutely loved them. Like I was collecting tons, and I have 3 more bottles this size just from my original collection when I was a kid.
That is so cool that you kept them. Oh my gosh.
People are like, oh, you're just a hoarder with rocks. I was like, well, it's one of my favorite things. It's not hoarding. It's just a collection, right?
Right.
Everyone that collects things could be considered a hoarder.
So you started. So we brought us to the pandemic. So the pandemic, you got out of that toxicity.
Oh yeah. So, but the funny thing, like I was sitting on my back porch and I got the phone call. Like, granted, I already had my flight to Greenland. I already had everything ready to go. I was completely packed. That day I had just gotten dry suit certified in case I could go scuba diving while I was there. And I got this call from, his name's JC, give his initials and whatnot. He's like, so yeah, we can't accommodate you. So what are you going to do about this? So, and I said, just let me make this clear, right? So if I leave and I don't come back from work, am I fired? And he's like, well, no, but we can't allow you to do that. And I'm like, so you're not going to fire me if I leave, but and so I was trying to just think of all the ways where I could just basically mess with them because I'd been messed with for so long by this person.
Yeah.
And I just was like, okay, thanks. I'm going to talk to HR. So HR, this particular woman couldn't stand me because she's the one that kept getting all the paperwork for my harassment case. Mm-hmm. So she calls me super excited. And she's like, hi, so JC said that you wanted to give me a call. And I'm like, wow. And I even said, you're really happy about this. And I said, well, I just wanted to know how much PTO and how much sick time I have left. She's all, oh.
She thought you were quitting. She thought you were quitting, right?
Oh, yeah. She thought I was there to quit.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay. I said, can you let me know what this is? She's all, yeah, it'll take me a day or so, which that was a lie. She could have looked it up right then and there.
Right.
So she got back to me in a day. She's also, why do you want to know all this information? I said, okay, so I'm going to send you my formal resignation. And I said, I want to make sure to use up all of my PTO and sick time
Before
my last day of work. She's all, oh, well, you can just quit right now. I said, no, that's not how this is going to work.
No, yeah,
I
you're
said,
gonna get
I've
paid.
seen what you do with other employees, and I know how you just wipe away their PTO and their sick time that they've earned. I said, I'll get paid for all of mine. And she's like, well, fine. So, like, she was so mad about it. And at this point, like, I didn't care. And maybe that makes me like a bad person, but I gave these people.
I mean, how dare you actually use the time and the
I've
things
earned?
that you occurred and earned, right? How dare you?
Yeah, you have to definitely step up for your worth. Like, that's, definitely, like, you can't let people walk over you. So yeah, you know that's what you earned. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, so what does that put me in? I was like, all right, that makes my last day technically July 22nd, which would mean I would already be in Greenland for over a week before my last day. And so I just, planned it out. And 3 days later, I left for Greenland, and I was there for a little over 3 months.
Nice.
Yeah. So for the Greenland stuff, then did you have to do like a whole bunch of research ahead of time, like prospecting or like anything to kind of like prep for it? Or was it something that you just went in like just completely blind? Like, I'm going to learn this when I get there.
So for me, the area and the geology is very, very different. Like, there are some of the oldest metamorphic rocks in the world in Greenland. And so I was like, oh gosh, I need to make sure that I know what I'm getting myself into as far as like what I could see. And even with all the research that I did, like, I provided all of the like the networking and the links to get the company that was like filming us all of the maps, all of the like the deep dive for any geology that was there, the gold belt, all of it. Like, I provided them with a ton of information just so we would have it there on site. And so they kept reaching out to me for that. So when I got there, I wasn't going into it blind at all. I really knew like which locations that we needed to be in. And I had a very, very small reference as to where the claim was going to be at that we were going to be on. So I was able to do a little bit of like pre-geology just via the maps that I had found, Google Earth, and just trying to figure it out. Plus, I read every like gold paper I could possibly find on Greenland, and it was just a lot. So, and honestly, I was so excited about finding any of the minerals there and stuff, because there's so many minerals that they have there that we don't have here in the States. And I was just like, am I going to be able to like take these and keep them? And that was kind of a whole other story about what we were going to go find and what I was told I was going to be able to find and keep, and then what actually happened.
So were you the only geologist there?
Yes, I was the only actual like professional anybody. I was the geologist and a miner. I was the only person that had ever worked in a mine, and everybody else was kind of a weekend prospector.
Okay.
The Ray was awesome. Like, Ray, super cool person. He and I got along probably. He was probably the only person that I actually got along with, just because like he was smart, he was on it, he knew what he was doing. He wasn't stupid like the other people. Like, and I'll say that very blatantly. Like, if you're that dumb or that lazy, you definitely shouldn't be like
on a show saying,
oh, I go and mine all day long. And I was like, really? Like, in your imagination, I'm assuming, because you're not here. Like, if you can't get up before noon and out of your tent and like doing something, probably shouldn't like actually be looking for gold. So, but that was fun. But anyways, Ray and I, we looked all over the place. We found a lot of stuff. We, collaborated really well on the show. So that was really, really cool. We're still in contact, which is awesome. Sometimes we just call and chat. Sometimes it's just a quick text, but at least I made a couple friends there, more native Greenlanders as friends than actual like people that I went there with.
And so the gold then, was that all placer gold that you were looking for?
Yes. Yeah, it was. Okay. The operation that we set up actually ended up being the very first placer mine in Greenland ever.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
People have claims up there, And the way that the claims work in Greenland is you have to be a native Greenlandic person in order to claim any land there. And if you go into anything like that, you already have to have a reclamation program. You already have to have funds set aside to repair anything that you have done. The claims kind of work very different. You can go and completely live out there. You have like all the mineral rights and that kind of things, and you're allowed to use the water. So a lot of people have claims and they'll do some testing here and there, just either digging test holes, and some people have done some boreholes, but it's it's an alluvium, so you're not, the test holes kind of either fall in or you're not really getting like a great sample. I think that some RC drilling has been done out there, and then in the hard rock mines, of course, they can do core, but that won't work on the alluvial fans and stuff. That and the like huge lateral moraines are what are left over from the glaciers being there if they haven't been cut by a river. And so that's what we were mining, is these giant lateral moraines with alluvium that had come down from the hills. And it was really surprising how much material was actually like left in there. And it's micro fine gold, micro fine. I mean, I didn't even think I was going to be able to pan gold that was that fine. And Ray actually helped me with a couple of his techniques that he showed me. And he's like, just do this and go real slow, because I was getting so impatient. It was so frustrating sometimes. But at least I knew how to pan going into it. There's a lot more than I can say for the people that were there doing this with their pan. I was like, what are you doing? Like, oh my gosh. Like,
you're gonna make me go watch these episodes now.
Well, I have them all unlisted if you want to. But, oh man.
I tried to look for some, and I can see there's quite a few different trailers and things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is really interesting. So I guess, so that was then sort of your jumping off point to sort of your whole other, I don't want to call it like your other life, because it is still like your life.
Well, no,
but like
you've been modeling, you said, your whole life though, right? Or most of your life.
Yeah, most of my, would say, late teens and adult life.
Yeah,
I didn't do it when I was a kid, but yeah, I actually, funny story. Like, I've always been told no. I've always been told you can't do it. You're not pretty.
Don't you hate that? It makes you want to do it more.
Oh yeah, and you're none of the things that we want. And I'm like, why? Like, why am I such like that squished penny that like just everybody like tosses aside? And that's how it's always felt. Like, it makes you feel almost kind of worthless. But I think I was 19 when I sent in, and this is before like all of the digital age that they have now, that you just submit photos online. That didn't exist. I had to get photos printed out. I had to have them taken. I had to send them to different people, and they're like, "Yeah, you're not really pretty enough. You don't have that look that we're looking for. You don't have this. You don't have that." And I'm just like, "What the hell do you guys want?" Like, and it just in my head, I was so mad. But once I finally started to kind of claw into it, because I just didn't give up, I was like, "This is cool." But before, like, my very first modeling job, I was an extra in the background of a couple different movies, and I was like, this is fantastic, this is so cool. And then all of a sudden I got like a couple runway shows and a couple of print ads and like stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of neat. And so it was just kind of this floating around of everything, and I was just taking it as it came, but I was clawing to get everywhere. I mean, I remember the very first time, like, I was in the newspaper for something that didn't have to do with my parents' zoo. It was because I auditioned for an indie horror film, and I was in this big auditorium, and they said, well, can you scream? And I was like, oh yeah, I can scream. No one was prepared for my level of screaming, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they like freaked out. I was like, well, you asked me to scream, you didn't ask me to scream quietly, you said scream. So
is that then coming up? Because I think I saw you're in Alien Thriller. That's
Alien Storm. Yeah, it's my newest movie that I just finished filming.
Yeah, so is there like screaming and all of that?
Oh, I'm a
going in that
full on like badass in that film. I'm one of there's 5 lead characters, and I'm the 4th. And so it's, we're carrying this storyline along, everything that happens. And I can't like say like too much about it, because you're not allowed to. But oh yeah, like I wreak havoc like in the end, And
when can we expect to watch that?
Well, since it was filmed in February or finished in February, it won't come out until February of next year. Usually,
Okay.
once they're filmed to being
Okay.
released, it takes a year.
Okay.
But this year, I've already had one of the films that I did last year come out. Oh no, two of them actually. I wasn't able to go to the premiere of one because it was in Florida, but I did 6 films last year, and so I have 4 or 5 more that are coming out like this year. And so they'll just be little parts and pieces, and 2 of them I'm really, really excited for. The other ones I just had smaller parts in. It's fine, but I like the meat of things. I like to I like to be the main focus. I mean, for someone in my field, I can't say that they don't want the same exact thing. So
Yeah. And so would you say that Frozen Gold opened up the movie aspect for you?
No, I'd already been in a couple different films for sure. 5 different films before I was in Frozen Gold.
Okay.
Because Frozen Gold was just like a TV series, but it did put my name more on the map. It helped with a lot of stuff. So I definitely felt that leading up to that, every day I was like, I can do this. I can be somebody. I am going to be out there so that people can see me. I will be famous. And yes, hands down, whether I'm naive or whatever people want to say, I will be famous. People will know who I am. And that is a goal of mine. It's just something that I want to do. People know me for geology and modeling and movies. And so eventually that's all going to come together in one name. And people are going to like, oh yeah, that was that girl. I knew her when. She's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I read somewhere too that with like the acting and things, you also did stunts. Is that right?
Yeah. The film that I was a stunt person in just came out last month. And so I got to go watch that. It was pretty cool. I've never been as injured on a set, though, as when you do stunts, especially the last film I was in. I would definitely say that there might have been a few safety aspects that they could have worked on because I went away with a concussion. I had bruises all over me. And I ended up hitting my lip like the first day. Like I rammed into this guy that actually saved me from like obliterating my face against a concrete wall, because they had no like padding. So I'm trying to make it look like I fell into a wall and I'm about to tumble downstairs. Well, I stepped on my own damn foot, and it really looked great because he caught me. And so actually my teeth bit his arm, not meaning to. So he had like this nice little half moon from my teeth, but like my face was all swollen. I was like, oh my gosh, I look like a hot mess. But no one cared. I had a wig on and a bunch of clothing. No one even knew that it was me. And so, my face couldn't be seen because it was a stunt double. So that was fun. But for any of my films that I do all of my own stunts. I mean, I can handle weapons. I can fall off horses. I can fall down stairs. I can make it look like I'm, tripping and breaking something without actually doing it. It's just stunt work, because I was in theater forever. Okay. Like I started theater when I was like 7 years old. And so that's where my love of like acting started. It's like,
that makes sense.
There was a girl, and I still remember like the picture. I can remember it. I don't know who exactly took it, but I had this little yellow like polka dot apron on over my pants, and the girl that was supposed to be in this role, I guess she got sick or something. So my teacher's like, "Hey, you read this once before, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And so as a 7-year-old, I was taller than everybody else, like by a lot, like at least a head taller. And so I just would look at everybody, right? And I remember the picture. I'm just standing over everybody and I'm holding my script like, oh my gosh, they're watching me. And so it was so much fun. And I remember that feeling.
That feeling, yeah.
And so being able to take that and put that into like musical theater and dance and have that all come together. I mean, still the last big play I was in, that was before I moved to Baghdad, Arizona. And it was the beginning of 2016. And I still remember opening night. I remember opening night of every play that I've been in. And it's the most magical time ever. It's amazing, especially when everything goes right. Even if you mess up, it still goes right. It's so much fun. And there's not a bigger thrill for me than like being on stage or being in front of the camera in some aspect.
So when you could combine, I can imagine how you felt about the frozen gold opportunity.
Mhm.
You're like, I love rocks. I'm on camera. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And
Yes.
so I was like, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. And
Yes.
so it was funny because they would take us for OTFs, which are on the fly interviews.
Mhm.
And they, right after something would happen, whether it was like something dramatic or, you know, someone was yelling at somebody or you found something, they either take you off to the side. And those are the little clips where they're showing you by yourself, you know, answering
Yeah.
questions about what's going on.
Yeah,
And
talking heads or yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I would get done with my OTFs or my interviews really fast. So by week 3 or like week 3.5, I go up to one of the DPs and I was like, hey, I said, so I've kind of been noticing now that we're all kind of in the same location together, because this is after I'd done a bunch of my traveling until the later on. I said, why is it you spend so much time with everyone else? I said, am I not saying things right or what you want? They're like, no, actually, you're short and sweet to the point. You give us exactly what we want. So we're done. He's all, everybody else, since they spend 10 to 15 minutes over here, it's because we haven't gotten the answers from them yet. They tell us this big old long story that we don't need. He said, because nobody's going to want to watch that. He's all, you're just done. And then the other guy said, yep, pretty much. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So a little bit of a confidence boost, because I didn't actually have the guts to go ask them, because I was like, I don't want to hear that I'm doing a bad job, but I needed to know to make sure I wasn't doing it later on.
Right.
And so once they told me it was correct, I was like, oh, thank God I'm not an idiot. And then I just went about my, you know, day and I was fine. But it was cool to know.
That's great.
Yeah,
So I've got, okay, so a couple, I want to show a couple things. So the first thing, so I saw this photo, which looks like an abandoned mine shaft.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also sent this video. Let me play this video for everyone.
Look at this, guys. This is the ladder. This is what I just climbed down. Well, I was up there, but isn't that freaking cool? And these tracks, they lead up and out.
Okay, so a couple things with that then. So I know you've talked, you briefly mentioned you grew up and like your parents had a zoo, so you had like tigers and all sorts of animals. You talked about riding horses when you were a kid. You talked about doing stunts. Is that the kind of things then that helped you become, I guess, fearless enough to go into like an abandoned mine shaft and just like have an adventure just to do that? Because I like personally, I'd feel scared to just like that. It looked a little creepy, that last video.
Yeah, so I was so both those pictures correlate. The picture that you first showed before the video was that one, was me looking down into an area that daylighted into the second level drift that I had showed the stairs going up. And so just basically what that means is this shaft right here that you're looking at is about 300 plus feet deep. And those tracks go into it. And that angle looking down in there, that's how freaking steep that is. You fall in there, you're going to break something, die. You're never going to be seen again. But going around the other side, walking in the adit to go up those drifts, I mean, you know, it allows you to go see those different areas. So for me, it's a little creepy. I'm worried about like the things that are in there, like, you know, snakes or javelina or a bear or a bobcat or a cougar or something like that.
For sure.
I'm scared of those things. As far as other stuff in it, like I take a gas monitor with me. And so it's a 4-gas monitor. And so if there's not enough oxygen, it's going to go off. If there's carbon dioxide, if there's, you know, H2S, if there's things are in there, it's going to tell me right away. And if it goes off, even if I think it's a false alarm, I'm out, because people could die. And I worked for the state of Nevada for a little bit. They gave us mine training. They would probably never agree with what I do, but I still do it safely. And I try to do it in a sense that not everybody sees me do the pre-work. And I've wanted to for a couple times do the whole thing where it's like, okay, I have an entire gas mask on. I have my monitor, I have all my stuff. And then I go in, I check it out, and I make sure that it's fine. And then I go and I do my video. There are occasions though where I will just go in where I'm like, okay, I know that this is going to be cool. I'm just going to have my monitor on because I want my first reactions to be on the video. And because those are very different. You could try to redo them, but it doesn't always work. And so even in acting, like sometimes your first reaction is going to be the best one you have.
Right.
And so going into these things, I am, I guess, a daredevil in the sense that, when I was a kid, like I'd just go do stuff. I'd get on my horse in the middle of the day on a weekend when I wasn't in school. I'd be, Mom, hey, peace out. I'm gonna grab a sandwich and some water. I'll be back before dinner. And I'd be gone all day long.
Me too.
And so it's just like, and I felt safe enough to do that. Like, yeah, sure. Me and my mom were chased by a cougar on horseback several times.
Oh.
We ran into baby bears that scared the living crap out of us, and mama bear is just coming along going, don't touch my kiddos. And you're like, oh, like those things happen, but I don't know. It shows you're alive. That's for sure. And so it doesn't, the only thing I fear, honestly, are like things that I don't know are in there. Otherwise, I just absolutely find it fascinating. I mean, I am definitely sure if there was a such thing as like, if you're something else in a different life, I was definitely a cat, but the curiosity stuck with me. And so
hopefully the 9 lives too.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. Like, I've done some really crazy things. I've been in, 3 different really big accidents. I've broken my back. I've dislocated my tailbone. I have done things that most people are like, are you stupid? I'm like, no, I'm insane. Oh, wait. And so, but no, it's so much fun for me. It's like, that something might happen. Heaven forbid it does, but I'd rather take the risk and find out than not do it. And that's why I'm sitting here right now.
Right, exactly.
I've taken these huge risks.
Yeah.
I mean, I've quit my job. I don't know how many different times to go do something else that I love. And it's always been better. And so I just keep hoping that, that next leap of faith is also going to be just as good as the ones that I've taken.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
that's
it.
great.
I'm gonna real quick. I'm gonna address some questions that we have here.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
So we've got David here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you wanted to answer that question here for David.
Yeah.
So David asked, while in Greenland, what other minerals, etc., were found in the alluvial runs?
In the actual alluvial that was there, you didn't find too much. You did find a little bit of sodalite if it had come off the mountain, and that's that mineral that glows under UV light, which is awesome. And we got a couple of traces of what I think was platinum. We did get some zinc, but for those like things that are hot items, such as zinc or like lithium or anything other than gold, I wasn't allowed to speak about because people think them as buzzwords. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like, well, it is an economic mineral and it is here because there's tons and tons of rock that's now being exposed because the ice is melting away very rapidly in Greenland. And so there are big lithium deposits and big zinc deposits. And there's another one that I can't remember the name of. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But basically, it's used as an insulator mineral in like computer chips and that kind of thing. And so that there's all of this stuff that's being exposed up there. But when I would find it and want to talk about it, I couldn't. So that sucked. Otherwise, that was pretty much the only thing that was actually found in the alluvium. Any of the other minerals that I found were either, on a like rock hounding trip or something that was in hard rock.
In regards to your professional modeling,
in
any negative experiences that you do feel that you've had in that, in comparison to what you had talked about with what you experienced in the mining industry?
Okay, so I absolutely love modeling. And one of the things that photographers have told me is you're an excellent model because you're an actress. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they're like, you can give us emotion and feeling where most of the people that we work with can't do that. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like that's makes me feel great.
Yeah, for sure.
On the flip side of that, like for modeling pictures like these specifically, my boyfriend, before, he became my fiance, he was in the mine shop and somebody came up to him. He was like, hey, dude, do you know that there's like these half naked pictures of your girlfriend online? And he's like,
so,
and your point is, he's all, Well, did you know? And he's like, well, no shit, dumbass. He's all, I was there holding the light. He's all, how do you know? And he's like, I don't know. And so this guy decided to spread things around that I was doing porn
Oh,
online. Oh yeah.
disgusting. Disgusting.
I was pissed. I was like, are you freaking serious? And I was like, I'm just getting established in Phoenix as a model here in Arizona. I
Right.
don't need some guy like spreading rumors to my job. So I
Right.
talked to some of the photographers. I was like, hey, if there's anything like of me that looks slightly scandalous, I was like, can we take it down? And then a week later, I was like, screw this. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Like my work, they cannot tell me what I do on my personal time. And if they have a problem with it, that's their opinion.
Yes. Good
They're
for
the
you.
ones that are reacting negatively to that. That's not my problem. If they don't like it, they don't have to look at it, because my professional attitude and demeanor at work is nothing of what I do in the acting and modeling world. And so I was like, I had a total change of heart about it immediately. It was like, no, screw these people.
Yeah.
If they want to go look me up or do whatever, fine on them. They can go ahead and do it.
Right.
And so I have had a lot of respect for what I do from like a scientific and a woman aspect, other than like the men aspect, see it and go, oh my gosh, man, I can't believe it. Like the comments that I get are just, I won't repeat. And but they're horrible from people that don't understand like the art I'm trying to do, or what I get hired to go do.
Or
And
just people who don't understand the difference between, or understand consent and boundaries.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can be a beautiful woman and you can show whatever you want of yourself, but that doesn't mean that gives you the right to be vulgar.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of, I would say, men right now that are in going to look at different videos online are all looking for a thirst trap. They're all looking for some kind of thing that's, instant gratification, as far as, looking at a almost naked woman online because they get a kick out of it. And it's like, you miss the fact that there is an art portion of this, that somebody took a long time to decide to do these things. And it's not like you just, pop up in the morning and you look that way. And, there's a lot of work that goes into it, whether it's your hair, makeup, outfit, working out, the things that you do to condition yourself to be comfortable in front of the camera, you don't just happen. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And a lot of people are just like, oh, you're just so lucky. It's like, no, luck had nothing to do with it. I have scratched and clawed and worked my living butt off to do all of this. Luck is not involved. The amount of what you see is nothing like the work that's hidden below the surface. And people don't give you enough respect for that, and they still don't. But in a photographer's nature, for somebody who is a photographer, they look at me and go, you've worked really hard. Plus you're doing all of this other stuff. Oh my gosh.
Oh
It's
my
those
gosh.
people that don't have that photography background that are like, oh my gosh, you're just a slut. Like, thanks.
Yeah, and even I know, like I think I've mentioned before, talking to you, like you have a story of when you were trying to get, I think it was like your TikTok off the ground, and you're posting, videos, and you were out doing a trip somewhere in the mountains, and to get enough service to post a video, you had to hike up a mountain to post a video, and like the commitment to and the work that you would have to put in to do that. Like, I know there are definitely people out there that would say, I'll wait till I get home or whenever it's easier, but you literally climb mountains to grow yourself.
Well, my manager, or I guess one of them, Summer, she said, you have to post every day. And I was like, oh man, I'm going on this trip. And it was a kayaking rock climbing trip. So we had to take it was canoes. We didn't have kayaks, sorry. Or one or the other. Oh my gosh, I forgot what it is that I actually have. I'm so sorry. Anyways, everything was strapped on top in plastic bags, and we had to go down this like 6-mile stretch of river, which was way longer than I thought. And when we got there, we weren't sure if we were going to have service. So not only did I have to hike up the hill, I had to cross the river to then hike up the hill and then wait. But that story, the reason it's really significant for me is because that particular day, that was my second really big viral video. My first viral video, or for me, with as little followers as I had like 15,000 views. I was like, oh my gosh,
That's good.
I was so excited. I woke up in the morning and my video had over 200,000 views.
What?
I had gained 15,000 followers that night.
That's crazy. Good
And
for
I was
you.
like, oh my gosh, it worked. Like, what the hell was with it? And granted, it was like in the middle of the night. So I had like a headlamp on, I had a flashlight, plus I'm holding my phone, traipsing across the river and then coming back, which was almost waist deep. So I was, it was in the summer-ish time. So it wasn't that big of a deal for that respect. But, it was, I would say definitely like a dedication, because I knew if I just put in the work and I did it, it would do something. And so it did. And what do you know? Work got a hold of that video. By the time it reached 425,000 views, someone was pissed off at me.
Oh, you mean the mining world?
Well, yeah, because I was still very much in the mining.
Okay, yeah.
And
okay, so.
yeah. And they flip out. Oh my gosh, because it was a huge it was very big for, the area. And of course people flipped out. She can't be taking videos of that and blah blah blah. And I'm like, does it say your name on it? Do you know where it's at?
Right.
Are you being like publicly called out for this is your area, or whatever it was?
Right.
And like the GM was like, no. And I said, exactly. And I said, this is my personal life. It has nothing to do with you. I said, the line you're walking is paper thin between my personal life and what you think I should be allowed to do because of where I work. I said, that's not okay. And so I've always stood up for myself, I guess, in that regard. I'm shaking as I'm doing it and feel like I'm going to throw up.
Right.
But there comes a point where you have to stand up for yourself because you're your only advocate.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so I've definitely pushed all those boundaries.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
no, that's great. I love how much of, like you're your own biggest advocate. Like it's really great. And so speaking of social media, if you don't mind, I'm going to read a quote that I pulled from, I think, one of your interviews.
Yeah.
So the best way to support an artist or creative is to simply watch their videos or look at their pictures, like the videos or pictures, comment on the videos or pictures, follow, subscribe to what they're doing. Following and subscribing to creators is your way of saying thank you for what you're doing and we like it.
Yeah.
So kind of going with that too, because I know we haven't mentioned it. So your Elley Knows Rocks on YouTube, TikTok, I think Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Snapchat.
Okay, so if people want to follow, for more stuff, any of those places, and then you've also got your modeling stuff, and that's just the Elley Ringo.
Yeah,
as far as that goes,
it's Elley Ringo, or it's model.elleycat. Because when I started it years ago, I was like, oh, this is great, it's cute. Damn it, I should have just used my freaking name and called it good. But there's a point when you're first starting out that you don't want people to Google your name and then see what you're doing, because there's that inner embarrassment where you're like, I don't know if people will accept me. And I think that a lot of women go through that.
Yes,
when you're putting yourself out there, you're so scared that people are going to judge you and they're going to criticize you and they're going to bully you, and all of that happened. But you either go into it with a mindset that it's going to happen, or you go into it with, I don't give a fuck happen. You do what you want to do. I mean, yeah, sure, it took me a good little bit to realize that I don't care if someone thinks I look fat in that. That's on you. That's your opinion. I feel great. Have fun. Bye.
Yeah.
But the people that want to be negative towards me, they're still looking at my stuff.
Still making you relevant. So
And so it's like, if they hate me that bad that they're gonna stalk me, go for it. I'm all about it. You have fun. But yeah, so that was like a scary thing, right?
Yeah,
and
I can
so
completely understand that. Yeah.
Little bits of feedback, of course, were like great. And people like, oh, I love what you're doing and this and that. And then it came to a point where people really started to like what I was doing. So I was like, yes, maybe I'm doing it right. But you still have that doubt. Almost every photo shoot I go into, like, I have to pre-prep myself just to make sure that I don't have any negative thoughts about myself because it's going to read on camera.
Yeah. That's got to be like a whole process,
Mhm.
just that whole stepping back, like realigning your energy
Mhm.
and just giving it as much as you want to give it and getting rid of all. I mean, that's got to be, I mean, because we're always hit with negative things all the time, right? And it's
Mhm.
just like having to deflect all of that and just go within to that, like, you obviously have that light, that spirit, that energy, and just letting that radiate. So
I
it's
try.
sometimes, but sometimes though, with just life in the world the way it is, it's like, those things can sometimes dim it. So you've got to make sure. I mean, I can imagine going into a photo shoot and you're like, today cannot be dimmed. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I mean, I have some photographers that are, I think closer to me as friends than they are photographers, but they're, the best people in the world and we hang out. And I know that, not too long ago, I went into a photo shoot and, I've been going through a lot of stuff because I'm also planning my wedding. And so I'm just a little on the stressed outside. Plus there's been a lot of family issues that have been going on as well. Plus I still have to keep doing what I'm doing, right? And be happy
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, why are you, because I told him, I said, I just have anxiety and I'm this and I'm that. And he's all, why are you anxious today? And he kindly, puts his hands on my shoulders. And I'm just like, I can't talk about it. And I just, even saying those words just made me start to cry. He's like, oh my gosh. He's all, I didn't mean to do that. And I was like, no, it's okay. And so I went and I just, touched up my makeup to make sure it wasn't going to look like crap. But we had a freaking phenomenal photo shoot. But because even though you have to build yourself up and you don't want those emotional things to take over, being a professional model and a professional in any industry means that you need to be able to put on a good face no matter what's going on internally, and you have to know how to bury that for the time, completely put it out of your head and go in and do the job that you're supposed to do. And so being able to split it apart, maybe I'm a psychopath. Sorry if that's the truth, but you have to be able to be a professional. Mm-hmm. And that's like with any job. If you have a lot of stress at work or at home and you've got personal things going on, you need to go into your job with a clear head.
Yeah, you gotta, it's like a switch. You gotta turn it off, and
Yep. Yeah. And so it's, I've had a very strong switch. It's more like a giant breaker,
like a breaker. That's a good
Okay, I have to ask, because you just brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting married next month.
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a geologist, you collect rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a diamond or a different gem? What do you got in the ring?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
That's an awesome question, actually. I was out cutting rocks today, and so whenever I'm doing something, I don't wear my ring. But it's actually a Padberdash pink sapphire. And so it's very rare. They're the most uncommon of sapphires to get. And so, a funny story, I guess. I was in Greenland and I get this message from one of my best friends who lives in Florida. She's like, hey, what was that stone that you liked? I think that my grandma has one, but I can't remember. Was it Alexandrite? Because that is another stone that I like. It's not as rare as a pad sapphire, but she's like, or was it something else? So I sent her pictures of the ones that I'd like because I keep them on Pinterest and stuff like that. She's all, oh, okay. So you like the pads? She's all, okay. She's all, I was just curious if you would know what my grandma's ring was or something like that. Just random question. I was
it was for the boyfriend.
Yep. I had no idea. I was so stressed out and my brain was everywhere. I was like, Danny, this is the weirdest question of the world. Why do you want to know? Sure, I'll answer whatever you need, but
this is a weird random question. Yeah.
This is the weirdest thing. And she didn't. The funny thing is either over Wi-Fi or once I finally got a chip or a SIM card or whatever it is to put in your phone over there, then I could talk. But she did this via Messenger. So I knew if she was going to ask me, and I thought about this later, if she had talked to me on the phone, there was no way she'd have been able to keep it straight. She would have let something go. And so, I get back from Greenland. I had been back for, I got back in 5th or something like that. And then he proposed on October 3rd.
Aww.
And, you know, we were just in the water, and not that y'all asked for this story, but I'm telling you anyways. I'm looking at rocks right on the side of the beach. I was like, oh, they've got this. I can't believe there's agatized jasper in Lake Havasu. And he's like, yeah, okay. Not paying attention. He jumps off the back of the boat, and I'm just sitting there on the shore, and I'm like swinging in my little chair. And Dan, my fiance, he does this thing underwater where no matter where he is or what water he's in, he just opens his eyes and he looks everywhere. I can't swim that way unless I have a scuba diving mask on. It's like my eyes are closed. And so he pops up out of the water, and I was like, how do you do that? You always have your eyes open. He's all, well, that's so I can see where I'm going, where I'm swimming. I was like, no shit, Sherlock. I was like, but how do you do that? And he's like, I don't know. I just did it. Or I just do it. And then so I was like, okay. And so, you know, I'm like sitting there with my beer. I have no makeup on. My hair looks funky. I don't even have a good bathing suit on. Okay. Like I am like, whoop. Like, just let me in the water. Right. And all of a sudden he's like, look what I found. And he has this little box. I was like, oh my gosh, you found that under the water? Stupid, gullible me. And then he does his whole thing and proposes. And I'm like,
oh my gosh, so sweet.
I was like fucking shocked. Like I'm out of my mind. Like we've, May 1st, we will have been together for exactly 6 years. Aww. And so we've been together for a while. This has been like a long time coming, I guess. But I guess while I was gone in Greenland, one of our friends up the road here in Havasu said, dude, why haven't you proposed? Why aren't you married? Because someday you're going to lose her because someone else is going to take her. And he's like, oh. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So if you've been together for 6 years, so he's, you know, this really kind of took off, I guess, like 3 years, like COVID and stuff. So he's been with you sort of the whole time then.
Yeah.
As you've gotten, you know, and grown everything then.
Yeah. Like I was in 2 horrible relationships, you know, before him. And I've been through things that most people would never dream that somebody could live through for just the amount of time I've been alive. And, you know, people are like, I don't know how many experiences that you have that most people don't ever experience. But those horrible relationships, you know, they made me who I was. And so I always tried to do things like I always tried to model, and I always tried to like do more acting and all this stuff. But I was always very suppressed. Like, oh, no, you can't do that. People can't see you in a bathing suit. No shame. I'm like, why? Or, no, I don't really feel comfortable with you doing that. You know, it's not okay. They were always very controlling. They always wanted to say what I could or couldn't do. And I was like, this sucks. But you start to believe them. If you hear something enough, if you hear you're bad, you're bad, you're bad,
Yes.
you can't do this, you're stupid. You believe it. And if you're constantly told, well, you're no fun, you're this and that, it's like, am I really no fun? Like, am I really this shitty of a person? Do I suck that badly? So it's a whole mind thing where you're just like, oh my gosh. But once you decide to get rid of that and go away, like the first time I decided to like up and say, yeah, peace out, and you're never going to hit me again, I was living in my Jeep. Like I have a Jeep Wrangler. I still have the car. I'll never get rid of it, but I'm 5'9". You can't sleep in a Jeep unless you take the windows off and stick your feet out the window. Like, and I
made that choice though, right? To get out.
Yeah, you have to like at some point you have to take the giant leap to leave. And so it was like, wow, I've been through all these little things. And so Dan coming along, he's like, yeah, do whatever you want to do. So I fully support you. So yes, I can sit there in a nude art class because I do a lot of lighting to teach photographers how to shoot a model and how to be professional with them, whether they're beginners or intermediate. Some people just haven't done that before. And I'm very comfortable in my body. So I was like, yeah, you can't do that. And this is what you want to do. And so I have photographers that I trust to set this up so that, you know, you can have group shoots to tell people what to do. And Dan will be there. He'll hold the light. He'll hold the fill. He'll hold the reflector. He'll do all those things. And he's a confident enough man to know that I'm not going anywhere. And it takes a big man to do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to watch their girlfriend and then fiance or whatnot get photographed wearing nothing by 8 different people over his shoulder. And you know, he's just that great of a person where it's like,
That's
well,
beautiful.
yeah, no doubt at all. Yeah, babe, I'll marry you. You know, you know, this will happen. You're amazing. Yeah, sometimes every couple fights and argues because you shouldn't drink milk from the carton. I'm sorry. All right, and you don't lick the spoon and put it back in the drawer. Why is this not like a fundamental fact that people actually know? Like, it's not okay. That, and you do not wear your dirty ass shoes through the house after I've already vacuumed because I gotta clean it up. Like, oh my gosh, it's just those sorts of things where he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Or he'll be out working on his truck and he's greasy and he gives me a hug and I'm like, ew, I don't like the smell, get away. And, you know, yeah, sure.
So does he go with you then to look for rocks?
Oh yeah. So any of these, like, well, kind of. So he gets bored and he usually drags me away from whatever we're doing. There have been times where he's like, nope, we're leaving now. Or we'll be hiking up a hill and I'll be
Like,
dragged.
oh, look at this.
And I was like, look, oh yeah, it happened a week ago. I was like, I found a crystal. He's like, oh my gosh, we're never gonna make it to the top. That's what he said. I was like, no, that's not true.
I think everybody who's in a relationship with somebody who's not like a true diehard rock hound, like, has those experiences. Or like everybody, like, you just want to keep going. You want like one more rock, and they're like, no, you're done. Like, okay, you have enough. Or like, okay, we have to get to the goal here, and that's to the top.
Yeah, or hold on, we can't go inside the store yet. I got to look through the gravel and the landscaping here.
I did stop doing that years ago, FYI. But it did happen at one point. I was like, oh, these are pretty, and she's just going, oh my gosh. But it happens, yeah. So he loves to go look at abandoned mines.
Oh, that's good though. That's fun.
Yeah. He thinks they're awesome. Like, as far as finding the rocks, I will show him what to look for, and usually he can't find them. But that's okay. He tries really, really hard.
That's good though.
I appreciate just him trying and just being there with me. And so most of the time he'll just hold the camera. So on our very first trip, he's like, so like we knew each other for just over like no, not even a month or something like that. He's like, so do you want to go to Europe with me? I was like, stranger danger. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, this is like, yeah, we've kind of been seeing each other. I just met you a month ago and we've gone on a couple dates. You want me to go where? He's like, well, my parents are going over to England and we go to Paris. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Paris. This could be so cool. And so, you know, I decided to go on the trip. Like, oh my gosh, you buy a last minute ticket to Europe back in like whatever it was that I went. They were expensive, but I was like, it's okay. I got a good job. I can handle this. I went over there and I was like, oh my gosh, will you take a picture of me? Will you take a picture of me? And he's like, I'm the Instagram boyfriend right now. I was like,
yes, you are.
He always had my phone and we had the best time. And so then now it's just become a thing. Like, he will, you know, he doesn't do the photograph thing very well. He usually gets me when I look like this or like, you know, something face. I was like, look at the camera when you're taking the photo. But he'll film me for my YouTube videos and, you know, he'll do all of those things. And, you know, like every guy, he'll just get like fed up and just like, okay, are we done yet? Can we go?
Right.
And it'll be like almost nighttime. I was like, no, I just want to find one more.
Just one more.
One more. I mean, I've made him, I'll make him stop like on the side of the road. Stop! I see a rock. I need to jump out and get it. And so, like, you know, this is why my shirts say, wait, I see a rock. It's because it's like, it's a thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
He's almost caught me in midair going to jump for something. And he's like, yep, nope. You're going to come back over here and we're going to drop you down. And, you know,
so do you have shirts? So you have shirts too? Is that also on your Etsy?
Yeah, that's on my Etsy. They're like a, I don't keep them on hand. They're a print to order sort of thing. And so, but I mean, I like wearing my own shirts. They're fun. But, you know, some of them look cute and whatever. And I make my fiance wear ones that I made for him. So, you know, it's a fun little like thing. But
yeah.
Okay.
So I have to say that I'm impressed with so much about you, but one of the things that I find incredibly impressive is that, like, you are this professional woman who is doing movies, you're modeling, but in the midst of all of that, you find the time to connect with nature and to do what you love and to create content for rock hounders. And that to me is just so incredible. Like, I love that you still hone in and connect to like your love of geology and share that with others in the midst of like all of this, like, you know, the stardom that you're rising to. Like,
Sorry, it's my cat. She's right in the front of the camera.
oh,
I'm
that's
listening
okay.
though.
That's okay.
What's your cat's name?
Uziri. It's Swahili for beautiful. She's a
Aw.
Savannah cat, and she's wants my attention right now. She's been sitting on the floor, like batting the floor. Sorry.
Do you
I'm
find
listening though.
do you find that, so I guess, do you find that creating content is more of like a time of peace for you, or is that more of like just an, you know, like a job for you? Like, where do you see yourself with the content that you're creating, you know, as a rock hound? Do you see yourself continuing to do that? Do you want to grow with it? Is there, you know, a plan with that, or are you just kind of just going with the flow?
So honestly, as far as the content that I create, it's my job. If I'm not, which happens rarely, depending on either where it is or if I have time, I do get like independent consulting jobs to go out and look for or look at people's minds and whatnot. But
okay, so you still do that? Okay.
Oh yeah, and so people will, you know, want me to either go look at their stuff or to, you know, examine it. But sometimes it's just, oh, we would love for you to do this. Can you? And then there's like no follow through, and so I'm like, okay. And so I mean, honestly, and you know, this is just because, hey, it is what it is. And, you know, it like the starving artist sort of thing, you know, if you're on food stamps, you've made it sort of deal. But like last year for it, because I just did my taxes because I was dreading doing my taxes.
Yeah, me too.
2 weeks ago. Absolutely hate it. Because mine, believe it or not, they're kind of complicated. But like I made nothing last year. And it's the least amount of money that I have made in the past 20 years. And I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Like, you know, so it's scary. It's like if you don't get these little jobs, if I don't sell enough on Etsy, if I don't have enough views on YouTube, if I don't have enough views on Facebook, it's like, and TikTok doesn't pay it. And the Instagram loves to just kind of do this. So I'm like, okay. So at least with the other ways that I monetize things, I barely make enough money to, you know, pay for my gas to get to all my trips, to go on my trips, and then to pay for my cell phone bill. And literally, if it wasn't for Dan and me making some really risky but very good choices with real estate, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. And so, and I know that I've gone way out of the realm of what you were asking, but my passion for this is something that is huge. And I love to combine my passions. And you know, we've talked about that, but I'll continue to do what I'm doing because I believe enough in myself that it is going to go somewhere. Whether other people do remains to be seen. But hey, my YouTube keeps growing. I hit 11,000 followers. That, you know, it feels good to me. And I know it'll keep getting there. And it just takes time, but it takes a lot of tenacity. It takes that persistence. And it takes people slamming the door in your face for you to find like the little teeny tiny window or even a doggy door to crawl through. And you just got to keep going. You have to pursue it. You have to keep that passion open.
That's a really good message. And actually, no, it did answer my question because you believe, well, you have a passion in this and you believe in yourself, and that between that passion and believing yourself is your drive to continue. So, I mean, that's exactly what it is, and I think that it's admirable. It's
Thank
very
you.
admirable. Yes. We're going to check and see if we have any other questions here. I think somebody back here
I did have one
asked about our favorite rocks. Was that we saw? Elley?
Yeah, I can bring that up.
Yeah, you want to bring that up? Elley, what's your favorite rock or mineral?
Oh gosh, this is a very, very loaded question. I'm so sorry. I don't have one. because I like too many, and it just depends on the one that I am finding right now. I would say all encompassing, when I have to pick one, I would say that my favorite mineral is corundum, because it's sapphires and it's rubies. Sapphires are some of my absolute favorite gemstones. It's amazing. And, but I love all of them. Like, and it's such a bad thing. Like, every time I open up like a new agate or something that I hope is a geode, it's like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite rock. But I can't say that as well. It's not my, those aren't rocks. Those are minerals. So there's a huge difference, huge disconnect. And so each one is my favorite every time I find something.
Yeah.
So I know that it's not an answer, but that's my answer. It's all I've got, because it just depends. I mean, I have an entire case that is just full of things that I really love, things that I've found that bring me joy and it makes me happy. And I was like, oh, all of these are my favorite, and they're all different.
And Ben, you mentioned yours was from the last time we had you on.
Yeah, I'm sure Elley knows it. Slick Inside.
That's not
Slick Inside.
That's a rock, yeah, from a fault.
Yeah,
rock or mineral.
I've always, for whatever reason, like when I first learned about them, when learning about geology, I was like, this is so cool, because it's one of those that, like, what's always drawn me to it is the stories that you can get just from looking at a rock. And so to think like, okay, this maybe was like I have one that I found in Montana where it's like, okay, this is like a red like mudstone that was formed in some marine environment, and then it was deposited and uplifted and then was a part of a fault, and you can actually feel the grooves on it of where the fault was moving. And it's like you can just learn so much just by looking at it. And so that was one of mine, which they're not really pretty to look at, and most
it's not true.
people kind of are. But yeah, no, those are always, for whatever reason, it's just been something that have always just kind of connected with me.
Oh, I agree. Like, they're fascinating. When I'm in a mine, especially in underground, like adit or something, and you can see that everything was there because of a structure system, and you find the fault lines and you see where they propagate and where they're going, and then you see the slick lines from the drag, you're like, and this is why we have this post mineralization done. And so, no, I'm a huge fan, because you pick it up and go, look at this, and people are like, ew, and you're like, no, you don't understand. And so I get where you're coming from.
I think my favorite, and that's just because the area that I live in the Great Lakes, we have a lot of different like long wave fluorescent minerals. And so one of my favorites is the Warnerite scapolite. And and it's a bright fluorescent yellow. It's so gorgeous. And so that's my absolute favorite. But I know as I grow in this hobby, it will likely change. But for the last probably 3 years, that's been my favorite, and one thing that I enjoy actually collecting when I'm out on the Lake Erie beaches. So
that's very cool. I haven't been over there yet to go like.
Well, when you come, you better call me and I'll take you.
Right, if we could go look with fluorescent.
Yes, yeah.
I'd love that.
It's a lot of fun, like on the beach shore at night. I mean, like, and a lot of people are like, oh, Uberlites, whatever, no big deal. Blah. They're like, people think they're like trash rocks, whatever. But I'm just telling you, there is no greater feeling than being on the lake at night, hearing those waves crash, hitting the rocks. You're by yourself. You see the stars. It's just, and then you're looking for these lights or these rocks, and then they just glow. It's an incredible feeling. So it's fun.
I've always said like the Uberlites, the sodalite, like I've always been like, there's so much better sodalite. The stuff from Greenland like will just blow your socks off. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if like I'm going to Michigan at the end of May, and I am definitely going to a beach, and I'm bringing my lights, and I'm going to walk. And I mean, I think a lot of it that's really nice too is it's not like super common. So it's not like you see, and it's just a beach of glowing
I'm always
rocks,
by myself when I'm out there. Yeah,
and it's like, and you just walk, and you're like, oh, is that one? And it's that whole like kind of like you're
cool.
really trying to find something.
It's fun. Yeah, it's peaceful.
because I have I don't know if you guys like how deep dived you did or whatever, but I have a video about, the sodalite in Greenland and finding it on the beach and whatnot, but I had no idea it was going to be there. And I'm so frustrated in myself.
About not bringing some back?
Oh, no. I brought back 22 pounds of rocks from Greenland.
Oh, cool.
I had to get a special permit from the country in order to export rocks out. I had to know how many kilos I had of each one and what they all were. And Q in Greenland, she is the one that helped me out by filling out the permits to make sure that I could bring them back.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. But what I was going to say is I'm so frustrated that I didn't bring my own black light.
Oh.
I used somebody else's UV light. And unfortunately, I would use the term, the assholes that had the black lights that were there were very stingy with them after they realized that I was getting more camera time. So thank God I used them when I did. Otherwise, you can't find them. And so after my birthday there, which was the worst birthday of my entire life, I'd never cried so much in one day in my life. Like I kid you not, because of the way I was being treated by these jerks, because I was the person that was showing people what to do. I was the one using terms that were correct. I was the one that has the experience. I'm doing this. This is not something I do as a hobby on the weekend. This is my life.
Right.
So they got mad at that because, the cameras followed me. The cameras were watching what I was doing. That wasn't my fault, but they were jerks about it. And so after my birthday, I didn't get to use their lights again. And I was there for 3 months. And my birthday was in the first 3 weeks of being there. And so I was like, this freaking sucks. But at least, thank goodness,
some opportunity to
use I got to use it as best I could. And I was up for... I think the second time I got to use it was in Elley.
Oh, yeah.
Walking around.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, my sixth biggest viral video. Overnight, it got 3 million views.
Oh, I bet.
For finding a piece of rock. And I flipped out so bad. I was like, I thought I was going to die. Because it was glowing. I mean, it was like... It was on fire.
Yes.
And I've never seen one that big before. And every person thought it was fake and it was staged. I was like, no.
This is real.
This is real.
So for the sodalite then, was some of it the Hackmanite, like the tenerbescent? I don't know if you've seen those that have come out of there either. Because that's actually, talking about favorite minerals, that's one of my favorites now that I've gotten a few Greenland pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've gotten any of the tenerbescent Hackmanite from there. Yeah, because that's because that's really cool. What I've been trying to do is find a piece, because they're so expensive right now, but I want to really get a piece. I've talked to someone that he does carvings with rocks, and I really want to find, because it'll change colors then after it's exposed to the UV light, and then it'll fade back. And so I really want to get a carving of something that you can hit it with the UV light, and then it'll change color and then fade back.
Are you talking about tug turbite?
Tugtupite does do some of it, but the sodalite there.
So what did you say it was
Hackmanite?
called? Hackmanite.
Yeah, Hackmanite. So it's like a clear yellowish kind of color in daylight, and then after you expose it to UV light for a while, it turns purple, like amethyst deep dark purple, and then slowly, after a couple days or a day or so, sometimes even shorter, if you hit it with just a normal flashlight, it'll fade back to its normal color. And people that have had it for a while, they haven't noticed any changes over time. You can do it as many times. I've got pieces of barite from Hartselle, Colorado, that you can leave it out in the sun and it'll change from a yellowish color to blue, but that's it. It'll stay blue forever. It's permanently changed. But with the Hackmanite from Greenland, I know there's some too, out of, I think, Mount St. Hilaire in Ontario. I know some of that Hackmanite does it too. But the tenerbescents, and then Afghanistan too has some, and it's
we have some
crazy.
Gary.
Yeah, Yeah, from Ontario. Yeah. So and it's like my favorite thing, and it's the prices now are like getting much higher, but like I really want to find some that because it's so cool because it's like I love showing it to people because they'll be like, how much purple do you see? And I'm like, there's none. And you hit it with the UV light for like a few minutes, and then you go, okay, now, and they're like, well, now there's purple. Yeah, it's crazy. I love. Yeah, that's like my new favorite.
You know, and like now that you say this from the stuff that I did collect, because I like 4 or 5 different spots throughout Greenland, I collected some of the rocks, you know, just based on either the phenocrysts or the whatever was going on. I should just see if any of it does that.
You should totally.
Like,
Yeah.
I am
because if you didn't know about it, then you may have it and not even realize it.
No, I didn't, and I knew that sodalite was in Greenland. I just didn't think it was going to be where I was at. And so I brought like the scorpion finding light, which is like has 0 power. And so I'd have to be like this close to the ground, like looking for stuff. Like you'd have to be right here. You couldn't see anything. And so when I used the other people's lights, you know, you could be standing up as a normal human being and look around and go, oh my gosh, there it is. But I'm going to have to look this up because I researched tugturbite to death. And so I got some of that, which was awesome. But I didn't know about the Hackmanite. And my brain's going nuts right now. I'll just have to, I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, I've been following like, you know, the fluorescent mineral like Facebook groups and things, and so like when I first started seeing it, because then like there's someone that he's collected a lot of Greenland rocks, and they sell it on eBay, and I like to, I've gotten a few pieces that way, and I mean
are we talking about Mark Cole?
Yeah. So yeah,
shout out to Mark Cole.
Yeah, and his daughter Valerie is the one that's you know doing it now. But yeah, it's, you know, that stuff. Like I've gotten a few of it, and I think I've sold maybe 1 or 2 pieces. But it's like it's because it's so cool, and it's like I really have a hard time like getting rid of it because I'm like it's like a color, like because I tell people it's like getting sunburned. Like you can hit the rock with UV light and it changes color and then it'll fade back. Like oh, so cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Real quick, Bobby, which is somebody that I had on a previous. Let me pull over his message here. Sorry, I had him on a previous show. Wanted to ask you about a claim in Greenland, and do you remember something about on your show? Do you remember the situation?
What did she say? Oh wait. When the guy who owned the claim in Greenland denied her keep or fines, what did she say to him off camera? Anything? If he's still on, this is 2 different things. Is he talking about the guy at the ruby mine? Which I'm assuming.
Yes, he says they should have let Elley keep the rubies.
Yep,
we
the ruby.
Talked about that.
So this guy.
Okay, yeah, let's hear this juicy.
This was great. So I show up at his house the day before we're going to go to his claim.
Okay.
And he takes us downstairs to his little area of ruby everything, right? And he's got rocks that I kid you not, that I can't like, they're huge. I guess I'll go back here. They're like gigantic on his floor with these huge pieces of crystalline corundum. They're not in like the best shape. It's cool because they're so big, but they're like the pieces that you would break off to use like in a classroom to show people what corundum is, to like scratch it, to see that it scratches everything.
So not gem quality.
No, but then he had a whole nother section that was gem quality where he'd gone through and he had made a ton of different jewelry with them and put them in local shops. And, you know, he talked all about it. And he was supposedly a geologist. I have questions there. That's a whole other story. But he had this claim that he got at this beautiful area, and he talked all about it, how it was, you know, a little bit of a hike to get there, but we could go there and we could see all this stuff. He also, which was a fact or whatnot, he had the largest solid crystal of corundum in the northern hemisphere. Literally, it was this tall, and it was perfect. That came down, and it was beautifully shaped. And I have pictures of me holding both of the 2 giant ones that he extracted. and they're in this like phyllite type weird material that sucks to get off of the corundum. But because I had gone to the ruby mine before that, and they let me help like do stuff to the crystals and whatnot. That's not on camera, but they let me help do all kinds of stuff, which was cool.
Right.
So this dude's like, yeah, so we can go to my mine tomorrow, and you can dig stuff up. You know, you'll be able to keep it. You can, you know, we'll just all hike up there. It'll be a great day. Plus, the TV show itself said that I would be going on a tug-to-bite hunt, which I never did. And I would be going on a ruby mine hunt, and whatever you find, you get to keep.
Okay.
This isn't something that I wrote, that I signed.
Okay.
So, but to me, I'm like, yes, this is like my favorite freaking like, you know, type of crystal.
Right, because corundum, you just said, was like your favorite mineral, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So like, yeah, when I have to like deduce it and take it down, it's like, yeah, it's corundum. Like I have to, you know. And so I was so excited, I couldn't even believe it. Well, we get to the boat, we get on the boat, we're driving along, and the dude's like sitting there, and he's kind of like shady, and he's like, we're like, I can't wait to get there. He's like, yeah, we brought the water saw, we brought these picks, we brought hammers, we brought all of these things. And I was like, okay, that's good, because like, you know, we brought like a rock hammer, and like that was it. So he didn't tell us how far we had to hike.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So we get there, everything is soaking wet, because you're walking through weeds that are like up to your knees, like all these bushes, and you're tramping around, and it decided to rain. Well, we get further up the hill and it starts to snow. So we're freezing cold, we're soaking wet, and we still, like, we're in this layer of fog now. And he's like, I think it's that way. Maybe it's over there. I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, well, the last time I was here, it was by helicopter. We're like, oh my God,
okay.
are you serious right now? Like, so we're like 5 miles into this, straight up a hill. Like,
right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So we get onto this ledge, and we start like looking around and stuff, and I start to see it on the rocks. I was like, this is what we're looking for. This is it. And he's all, oh yeah, okay. We go that way then. I'm like, this is your claim. Are you serious right now? So I was like having it. Hugh was with me, and she's like, I could strangle him. I was like, yeah, me too. And she's like, let's just keep going. So we keep walking. He's like, you got to keep walking that way before you get to the area. You'll see where I've been digging, and which was true. We eventually saw where he was digging. So we are pounding on rocks. My hands are numb, like completely, literally. I can't feel my fingers. It's so cold. And like big, huge snowflakes are coming down, and it's like you can see like this, like all of my stuff. I can barely see what I'm doing because of like my hoods and my jackets and whatnot. I'm freezing cold. We get all this stuff out. I'm like, yes, this is so cool. We put it in 2 backpacks, his and then another one of his. And we're like, well, you know, can we, you know, like split this up and keep it? He's like, well, we'll talk about it when we get back to the boat. And we're like, excuse me?
So you just walked all this way, went through all of this extreme weather to mine rubies for him?
Yep. So we get back down to the boat. We start taking it out of the backpack, out of the baggies that we like put it in, you know, because some of them are small, like real small. Some of them were like this, you know, pretty big. And they're all in this like kind of crappy phyllic material, you know, and we're like, okay. And so I said, so what do we get to keep? Well, I got to take them home and examine them to see if maybe you can have some. I'm trying not to lose it right now.
Right.
I'm like, I spent all day. I hiked 9 miles up a hill that you didn't even know where we were going. I have a twisted ankle. I'm soaking wet from head to toe. I blew out my boot. I'm just like, okay. And then plus on all of this, my phone fell out of my pocket. Thank God it was on the boat.
Oh, so you're like, you know, freaking out that you lost your phone.
Oh yeah, I freaked out. Well, no, we called the boat driver because I was like, if my phone's down by the rocks, I'm gonna go look for it. But if it's in the boat, we'll just leave it there because the boat left. They're like, we'll be back later because we know you guys are gonna be on a trip because he had told them how long we were gonna be away. We're like, huh, cool. cool. Like, I didn't find this out till after, but so I didn't get to take like videos and pictures. I have like one or two videos that the other people had taken, but like some of the like the story producers and whatnot, they weren't like, oh yeah, let me take your picture. Like, oh, okay, if I have to, I'll take your picture. And so it was like pulling teeth. And I'm just in my head. And so we're in the boat and he's looking at all this stuff. I'm like holding it. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is so freaking awesome.
Right.
The next day, he said, come over to my house the next day.
Okay.
So we go over to his house. He takes us into the house and we're like, okay, where are they? He's like, oh, well, here are my books and here's my stuff. And it's like, wait, don't care.
Right.
Like, where's the goods? So he takes us over to the counter and there's like a little handful of like stuff. I'm like,
yeah, like where's all the stuff we collected?
I'm like, this is it? He's all, yeah, this is it. And I said, oh, okay. I said, so what have you determined? I said, I'm dying. I said, I worked all day to do this. I said, what do I get to take home? And he said, you can have this piece. And it was that big, maybe that big around. I'm talking about the circumference of a dime and maybe a half an inch long. And I was there all day. I was told that I could take stuff home. He's all, well, we don't always get what we want.
What?
Oh.
And I went,
what?
Yeah. And he's all, you're in Greenland. He's all, this is my mind. I get to decide. And he's all, I'm sure it's that way with other people's claims in the States. I was like, no. If someone takes me on their claim and says I can find stuff and take it home, they let me take it home. They don't renege. He's all, well, this is different. I have to pay for this and I have to pay for that on my claim. I said, you're fucking lying. And I said, that is bullshit. And I said, where's the rest of it to boot? I got pissed. I called Q on the phone. I said, you're not going to fucking believe what this asshole's doing. She's all, what's wrong? And she said, I told you he was going to renege on this. She knew it from the beginning too. And she's all, put me on speakerphone with him. Let's see if it changes his mind. So we put him on speakerphone and he's just like, well, she worked. She got a little piece. That was it. And I'm thinking, you scrawny asshole, I'm going to strangle you. I was so mad. And I said, literally, where's the rest of it? He's all, this is all there was. I said, no. I said, the other backpack has a whole ton of it in there. Where is it? He's all, there was none. I said, did you check the other backpack? He's all, no. I went, great. So he dumps out the backpack, which is twice as much as he had already on the counter. And so he starts washing it off. And I was like, yes, sweet. And I said, see, now you have double the amount that you had before. So can I at least have something for my trouble and time? He's all, no, you can keep the piece I gave you. That's it.
Oh my God.
I was like,
that is so messed up.
Oh, it was severely messed up because, I mean, he lives there.
You can go there anytime.
Yeah, exactly. That's his claim. He's all, well, these are rare. It's not like I make a living off of this. I said, these aren't rare where you're at. I said, this is something that you get in a mineral kit for a scratch test kit or a streak test for college or for any other elementary reason. I said, that's all this is. I said, this is not gem quality. This isn't anything. It's just corundum. That's it. Oh,
yeah. We gave them away. And when I was in Chicago, they would have at the Chicago Gem Show, whatever it is that's there, every year they would have a mineral that would be like the mineral of the year. And one year it was like ruby. And they literally gave out little pieces of ruby to everyone that walked through the door. Yeah.
More than I got. He just was like, yeah, you don't always get what you want. This is my claim. I call the shots. I do what I want to do. And I'm like, I literally all day long, like we left at the butt crack of dawn. There wasn't even light outside to take an entire boat ride to this guy's place. He completely negated like exactly how far we'd have to travel up this freaking hill that was horrendous. Didn't clue us into what was going to go on. And then the next day I realized I got to take something that big home. I'm like, wow. And yeah, maybe I'm the asshole for thinking something else, but he told us literally in his home, oh yeah, you'll get to dig for stuff. Whatever you dig up, you can take home.
I mean, you don't dig for other people. I mean, I don't know any human that digs for other people. I mean, unless that's some kind of written and verbalized thing. I mean, when you go and dig something, you're digging for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
That's just
I mean, that's the only way that I go do that is if like whatever I'm digging for is a lot less than, you know, whatever I have, or it's just, you know, so, but somebody else is going to enjoy it so much more than I will. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, here's
that's-
this, here's this, here's this. Have fun with it.
Yeah, that's we know that wasn't the situation. You're not going to Greenland to pick rubies for other people.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And
So,
sorry.
oh no, I was just gonna say. So, you weren't able to keep some of the rubies, but you did say you brought back a bunch from Greenland. So, like, what was your like favorite that you were able to bring back from Greenland?
I love it that I did get a little smidgen bit of a ruby, right? You know what I mean? Because it is corundum and I did pull it out of the ground, yay, which is cool. But I loved finding the sodalite. And then the person that had the museum in the Sarsarak, he knew I was the geologist. So one of the people that was one of the story producers, she's like, so if you get back to Nasarsat, could you go into the museum and then get the beaded necklace for me? And then someone can bring it home. I was like, yeah, sure. So I did, because she had already gone back to London. And so I went over there and the guy's like, oh, you're the geologist, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, I have family at my house right now, but if you want to come back this afternoon, I'll show you our mineral collection. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to.
Yes.
And so, like, but I didn't have anything else to do. My flight didn't leave till the next day. So 4 hours later, I go back to the museum and he has everything like spread out. He has UV lights ready. He has all this stuff. And then over on the side, he had a little like pile of rocks. And so that little pile of rocks had, you know, everything kind of spread out that he gave me.
Oh,
and he said,
Wow.
And I don't know how he knew this, but he's like, I've heard you've gone through kind of a hard time here. And I'm like, yep, a little bit. Like, it's one of the most stressful, almost humiliating parts of my life. I mean, I was threatened to be beat up. I couldn't even believe it, that the girls threatened to beat me up because they just didn't like me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But he apparently heard about all this stuff. And so
oh my gosh,
he wrote down what everything was on a piece of paper. And it was so cute.
Oh, nice.
He would take like the piece of mineral and then, you know, he would put it on a piece of paper and then he traced the mineral and wrote the name beside
so
it.
you could remember in case the paper got lost with the mineral.
Yep.
How cute is that?
Like a chalk outline of like a crime scene.
And so I took a picture of that with all of them, like just in case it got like shoveled or missed. And so, yeah, I have all of my like Greenlandic minerals in a little area in my house, and like they're in a little case. But yeah, so he had given me tugturbite. He gave me fluorite that from Greenland. He gave me some of the what is it called? I forgot what it was. It's like kind of their moonstone, so to speak. It was really pretty. There was a little bit of I don't know why I am lapsing the name, but it's a feldspar crystal.
Pasterite?
No, it has like a beautiful blue argilorescence to it.
Okay.
And anyways, if you get it wet, you can see it like really pretty. And then he gave me 2 different
Labradorite?
Yes, thank you.
Labradorite, okay.
Yeah. My mind just was like, couldn't think. And the 2 different types of sodalite, because they have the complete like white version there that once it's the orange, and then they have the bluish color there as well. And then he also gave me a piece of microcline that they get there, and just a couple other little things. And I was like, this is so incredibly sweet.
Yes.
I couldn't even believe it. Like, amazing person.
Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of like I don't know, from my experience, like, and it's different depending on what you consider yourself, a rock hound, a prospector, you know, whatever you are in the hobby. But like from my experience, like from the rock hound experience, I have never gone somewhere where we haven't given and exchanged like rocks from our area to another person in their area. It's just kind of like a thing you do. So like that's incredible that you had that experience, and it's terribly bad that from the other person who treated you that way, because I can't even imagine somebody inviting you to their claim and saying like, "Oh, you get to have this little tiny little thing." Like, what?
Yeah.
I've never even, not even you found it yourself. When
Oh, yeah.
here and over here in the US, it's like when we go to different places and we meet different rock hounds and we prospect, just like, not only get to, we'll take you to where you hunt, but like here you can also have this is, just because it's like you live in a completely different area and you don't have access to this, and it's like you're like, oh, thank you so much, because I may not come here again, or if I do, it maybe once or twice, so like so I'm glad that you had an experience of a good person in the hobby, because God, that's insane.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely nuts for sure. I was just flabbergasted by that guy. And that's why, and for people that have watched the show, I ended up going to the Greenlandic Ruby store, which is in Nuuk, in their mall. And I actually ended up buying,
that infuriates me even more that you had to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I actually bought a ruby for everyone on the claim.
Aww.
And then I bought myself one, plus a pair of earrings that had like a little teeny tiny, and we're talking to like small, like, and so I'm gonna like draw a little thing. I have it actually too, if you want to see it, but like we're talking little,
tiny, yeah,
like really, really little.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me grab the one really quick because I keep it in its little case.
Oh wow, that's one he gave you?
No, this is mine that I bought.
He bought. That's beautiful.
And so it's really pretty. It's more considered a pink sapphire. And then the one that I got to keep, hang on, it'll focus.
Oh, yeah.
So real crappy.
Yeah, totally.
Like I've filed off all of like the phyllic material, but that's
wow.
So it's got its natural shape, but that's it.
Wow.
So frustrating. So frustrating. Because he didn't dig shit. Like he went to go find water for his saw, and then he came back and like sawed out a couple things. But like Q and I we were hitting with sledgehammers and chisels, and like I was trying not to break a finger because my fingers were so numb that I couldn't feel where they were on the chisel. Like that's how cold it was. Wow. And I was just blown away. So I ended up, spending a fair amount on my little tiny, ruby that I bought, because I was like, damn it, I'm not going back with nothing. This is pathetic. But that guy, total dickweed. Like, I hope karma comes back to kick him so bad in the balls that he never can produce children again. Like, no, will not happen.
So where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself doing any other reality geology shows? Do you see yourself doing your own? Like, what is there a future with Elley and geology and television?
Oh, hell yeah. Like, so I would, me doing a show on my own has been pitched to a couple different people.
I think it'd be great.
And so both to PBS and Netflix. And so I am really, really hoping that I will get something soon. And
that's
so
awesome.
we'll just see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So would that be like a travel show, like different rock hunting places, or like just you adventuring? Okay.
Yeah. So there's been like a couple different things that have been thrown out there. One of them I can't talk about, but the other one would be me exploring different parts of the US at first. With minerals and talking about rock hounding and the geology that is associated with that. And cool. There's not really been anything like that, that comes from a perspective from someone like me. Yes. And not that I'm all special, but like I have a completely different perspective on the world for all of the experiences plus my backgrounds. Yes. And so I want to go do that. No, I am not the stereotypical geologist. Like people are like, you need a beard and a beer gut and gray hair, and like then you're a geologist.
Flannel shirt.
Yeah,
I do have those because they're super comfy. But
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that is something that I very much want to do, and I'll continue to do TV and movies and stuff like that. I have a couple movies that I'm doing this year already, but I really hope to start like filling it up a little more. But I mean, the audition world is very difficult. And so it's something that you have to just keep trying and keep doing and believing in yourself to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before we let go for tonight, I do have one question for you.
Okay.
For those people who are watching or listening who are newer in the hobby and want to know, like, you know, they love rocks or they love being in nature, what is something that somebody who wants to start collecting, what is a piece of advice, or even if it's down to some kind of equipment, what's something that you would recommend a new rock hound invest in rock hounding?
So like start to kind of perfect your kit, whether it's, you know, a hand lens or like a mineral test kit, or, you know, a good backpack, water bottles, like that kind of like standard stuff. But when it comes to actually your area, there are a lot of very, very specific rock hounding books and mineral collecting books that you can go get for your specific state. They're constantly changing, but it allows you like to get a handle on an area of where to look. And so once you start to kind of see those different areas, whether it's by a stream bed or by a bluff or an alluvial fan or up the side of a hill, you'll start to kind of form your own indications about, ooh, I see the same locations other places. Maybe I can go over there and find something on my own. And so it just starts to allow you to think outside the box and to explore those little areas and those little ventures. And you just be careful while you're doing it. Use a buddy system. Tell someone where you're going. Take protection with you when you're out there, whatever that may be for you. I carry multiples. So like if anybody sneaks up on me, you're able to get a 9 in your back. So just do not mess with me. Otherwise, like, always, before you leave, if you are going alone, tell one person, if I'm not back by this time, come find me. This will be my location. It's very important. If for some reason you break down in your car and you do not know where you're going, stay with your vehicle, because more likely than not, somebody will most likely come past and be able to help you. Don't try to walk in some random direction thinking, oh, if I go in this straight line, I'll get there faster. No, that's how most people die. Literally. You either freeze to death, something about the elements, something about an animal. Just be smart. And, you know, perfect your kit. Have those things with you. But always keep exploring. Always keep looking. And if all else fails, look in a stream bed. Look in a wash. Look at the bottom of a hill. These are going to be great places to tell you what's up in the mountains beside you.
That's good advice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes. So we're going to conclude for tonight. Thank you, Elley, for taking the time to speak with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
lot
it's just
of
a
fun.
lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an incredible start of season 2. You have been an incredible guest. We thank you for your time. And we're going to all sign out for tonight. So peace out.
Next episode is going to be on May 3rd, and we are having the Agate Dude, also known as Chase Anderson, who is going to be talking about all sorts of agates, mostly Lake Superior agates. So tune in again, same time, same place, Wednesday, May 3rd.
All right. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
everyone.
Bye.